music. I love that song. Oh my goodness. What a nice way to start. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Sherie Hollis. I am your host. Welcome back to my channel. It is my pleasure to be with you. I am joined here with my soul sister again, Michelle Jean-Jacques.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Glad to be here.
Yes, absolutely. We wanted to bring back part 2. We did part 1. Last time we spoke about learning to choose yourself. We felt that there was still a little bit more that we had to add to it. Some things that we wanted to cover that we couldn't put all in one place. So we came back to add some more details. So we talked about the empath.
Right.
We also talked about the narcissist. We talked about the 1111 code. Today we're going to be talking about the empath, just slightly touch on it a bit, as well as the narcissist on some points that we really wanted to elaborate on.
Yes.
And we want to also talk a little bit about the dark night of the soul, and we'll explain what that is in a moment. Also, the hero's journey.
That's interesting.
Yes, yes. So those are the things that we're going to be covering today. So let's get started.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it when she's with me. Oh, my goodness, guys. This is my sister. I love her and adore her. Oh, my goodness.
I love you.
So, I was saying to Michelle how the empath really needs to learn boundaries.
Yes.
And I struggled with that a whole lot.
Yes.
Learning boundaries, because the climate that I grew up in was with 2 parents that believed that children should be seen but not heard.
Right.
So because of that, that made it so, it kind of invalidated a lot of my feelings and wants and desires and needs, and seemed like they were irrelevant and didn't matter.
Right, because the child can't express itself.
Exactly. And so our parents were like, look, you don't like it, too bad. They didn't care if we were upset, if we wanted something. No, you can't have that. Everything was no all the time. And, you know, it was just very difficult. And I know they had a lot of children, so that has something to do with it as well. You know, I grew up in a family of, altogether, there were 12 of us.
Right. So the message that the child is registering is what exactly? What is the child registering?
The message that the child's registering is that they're not worthy.
Right.
And that their feelings are not valid.
Right.
That they're not important, and that they don't really matter.
Right.
You know? And so, you know, in looking at my parents and how they seem to ignore, basically, what our needs were. And when we would bring it to their attention, they would become very angry, especially my mom. She would become very angry.
Very emotional needs, correct?
Emotional or just physical needs, whatever we needed. It was like she was quick and very short.
And you said your mom was a narcissist.
Absolutely.
Right.
She was very short, very quick with her response. Like, you better not ask me again.
Right.
I'm going to smack you or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was kind of difficult.
Right.
You know, growing up under those circumstances. So it caused me to withdraw.
Right. You felt shut down.
Absolutely. And I felt like, what's the use?
Right.
You know? And we were talking about the fact that, you know, I didn't know what boundaries were.
Right.
I had no clue. It wasn't even in my consciousness. I couldn't even make the connection.
Right.
Between boundaries and learning how to choose yourself.
And why, as an empath, is it important for you to put up boundaries? Why is that so important?
Well, the empath, because of the fact that they, you know, internalize a lot of people's feelings and their sentiments and their suffering, they seem to take them on as their own. It's kind of difficult for them to have a balance. So they have to learn the balance by, you know, kind of putting people on pause at times.
Right.
So that they, like I said on the last show, how they can create a space for themselves.
Yeah.
So that they can get in touch with what their needs are and what they want.
Because the empath is picking up everybody else's feeling, and they need to isolate which feelings actually belong to me, right?
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
When you are not putting up boundaries, then it becomes a problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. So, that was pretty challenging.
Can you tell us a little about your process in how you realized that you had to put up boundaries? And what was it like for you the moment you actually did put up boundaries?
Oh my goodness. Like I shared was the fact that I took a break from everyone.
Yes.
Remember I said I'm taking a break.
That's it.
I'm not doing religion anymore right now. I'm putting that on pause.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm going to totally give it up for good, but
Yes.
I'm putting that on pause. I'm putting my parents' beliefs on pause.
Yes.
I'm putting my friends and my family's beliefs on pause. I'm putting everybody's beliefs on pause.
That's right.
Because, I want to create a space, so I want to see what I actually feel and believe.
That's right.
Aside from all of the things that I've been taught.
That's
and
right.
aside from the indoctrination that was, put on me by other people.
Right.
So, I gave myself that chance.
Right.
I gave myself that chance. And then I started to feel such peace and contentment of mind.
Yes.
And it was just such a wonderful feeling being free of the trauma of other people's issues, the valley of other people's problems and issues and stuff that you take on as your own.
Right.
You
wanted to be done with the drama.
Absolutely.
No more drama.
No more drama.
Right.
And, I started to realize that a lot of the stuff that I was struggling with and suffering over wasn't even my shit.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute, no. And I woke up and my language started to change.
Wow.
I started to say, I'm allowing other people to keep their shit. That ain't my shit.
Right. Not my problem.
When people would say stuff to me, I'd be like, that ain't my shit. That was my response. That became my response. But that was a process.
Yes. And tell us about when you discovered there were certain belief systems that didn't serve you, and you would say, okay, Mom, take this back.
That's right. That's right.
This person, take your crap back.
That's right.
This person, take that crap.
Yes. It was deep because I started giving everybody back their shit. I said, that doesn't belong to me. That's your shit. That's your shit. That's your shit. And that's yours.
Right.
I said, I'm only responsible for mine.
That's correct.
So you handle yours and I'm going to handle mine.
Right.
But I'm not taking on yours too.
Yes.
So it was just such an empowering moment.
That must have been such
It was comical too.
Yeah.
Because my language, like I said, changed.
Yes.
I took on this different state of consciousness.
Wow. That was so liberating for you. Such a wonderful feeling to know that now you can say, I don't want to, and I don't have to.
That's right.
And I don't feel like making you feel better. And I don't feel like doing this today.
That's right.
And,
and that has nothing to do with me. Not only that, I learned also another word. That's none of my business.
Yes.
That's none of my business.
Yes.
That's not my business.
That's correct.
Okay? That's yours.
That's
that has nothing to do with me. Okay?
That's right.
I'm only responsible for my business. I'm keeping my mind on my own business.
That's right.
I'm minding my own business.
Right.
I really started to understand what that really meant. To mind your own business.
Yes. And you should stay out of mine.
Yes. Exactly.
The power of the word no.
Oh my goodness.
The most beautiful, liberating moment in your life when you learn the power of the word no.
Yes. You're like, oh my God, it feels good to say no.
Yes. And that was a complete sentence, everybody.
Oh, it's so empowering. It was so empowering to have that. Just everything about you starts to shift.
Yes.
Like I said, the language shifts. The way you carry yourself shifts.
Yes.
The people that you have in your life starts to change.
Yes.
You're like, no, this person got to go. That person has to go. Because you just start to feel so wonderful, so good, so powerful that you're like, I don't want that other stuff in my space anymore. You just transform.
Right.
You transcend the things that you used to struggle with,
And what's wonderful about setting boundaries, when you need to set up boundaries, especially if you're dealing with a narcissist, like in your case with your ex-husband, is that that's a natural process for somebody who has self-love. You don't have to think about setting up boundaries.
Right.
It comes up automatically.
It does.
It
does when you come to that place.
Yes, you understand that this doesn't serve me.
Right.
And so there's no space for that in my life.
That's
anymore.
right.
So that had to be a turning point for you, no?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, you start to realize I only have room for the things that are going to help me to grow,
Right.
and that are going to edify me and uplift me, and, you know, all the other stuff. I don't have room for that.
Right.
I don't have room for that.
Right.
You know? So you begin to become more responsible for your life.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
And you start to realize that, wait a minute, it's really up to me.
Right.
Okay? You know, as a child, it's kind of difficult because you're still up to your parents.
Right.
But when you leave your parents' home, you start to realize, wait a minute.
Right.
Okay, I'm still stuck from what happened to me as a child.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here you're this grown, full adult.
Right.
And no one gives a crap
Right.
what happened to you when you were a child. They're looking
Right.
at you as an adult and saying, so what's the problem now? Like,
Right.
where are you now?
Right.
Like, how long are you going to hold on to that and
Right.
use that as an excuse and a reason to not take responsibility and not look at your life and realize that healing is up to you.
Right.
It's up to you. You have to heal.
Yeah. And not a lot of people understand that when you become an adult, it's your responsibility to heal the inner child. I mean, when the inner child is experiencing these things as a young person, they don't have the tools and the skills to deal with the emotional impact or trauma that they're experiencing. But once you become an adult, you have to heal. You have to deal with those issues.
That's right.
Otherwise, they create patterns in your life.
That's right.
And you can't break those patterns. And you attract a certain type of personality in your life, or you attract certain experiences in your life, right?
Yes.
And
because those are your patterns.
Right.
So you're going to attract them because they're part of what you're used to experiencing.
Right.
So it's based on the law of attraction. Everything's based on attraction.
Right.
So you're going to attract what it is you have within your energy pattern.
Right. Hence why it's so important to heal the inner child.
And so, inner child, we'd like to highlight that a little bit because some people are probably like, what is an inner child? Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And an inner child is basically that child who may have had some trauma, that child who may have been wounded or, you know, maybe, abused, or, you know, just a child in general. Whatever, maybe you were sensitive to something, maybe your parents were loving, but maybe they made a mistake with certain areas of your life or whatever, and it just hurt you in a way, in some type of way. But maybe it wasn't like a full, like, oh my God, they abused you.
Right.
But, you know, we're sensitive when we're children. So you were affected in some type of way. And it kind of shattered your self-esteem in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that inner child still lives in us as adults.
Yeah.
And it becomes that part of you that needs healing.
Yes.
That needs healing.
Yes.
So it's important to highlight what that inner child is, because some people might not really understand what we're talking about here. You know? And until you start to do the work to heal that child is still going to continuously be crying out for attention, for help, to address the issues that they went through as a child.
Right.
So that's what it's all about, and that's why I was saying about the law of attraction. You're going to attract certain experiences because that's where you are.
Right.
You attract what you are.
Right.
You know?
So in your journey of self-discovery, if you will, you understood that as an empath, you took on everyone's emotions and you can sense everyone's feeling, and you learned how to put up boundaries. So how did that affect your life as an empath, learning to put up boundaries? What process do you believe took place in your life that allowed you to take that step where understand what I'm asking. For instance, you're on this path of self-discovery. It reminds me of Jack Campbell. I don't know if you're familiar with Jack Campbell's work, The Hero's Journey, and he wrote a book.
Joseph Campbell.
Thank you. Joseph Campbell. Love Joseph Campbell. He did comparative religion and mythology, but he wrote a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and it basically tells us that every story, every culture has what he refers to as a monolith or a monomyth,
right?
Where everyone has this one story of the hero's journey. That it's a path of self-discovery. It seems to me like what you're describing that happened to you, you were on this hero's journey.
Absolutely was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the hero's journey is reflected in a lot of movies, and The Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
Would you agree is an illustration for the hero's journey?
Absolutely, because these are different stages of development.
Yes.
You know, as we evolve, we go from, initially, for the most part, when a person has been traumatized, a child has been traumatized, or even a person in general,
yes,
they seem to take on the victim mentality. So with the victim mentality, that's what people don't realize is they try to shun that and say, don't be the victim. That's not right. And, it's not pretty. It's not a pretty thing to look at or to expect, to be privy to when you're hearing someone complain about the things that has happened to them and they're staying in the victim mentality. It's not always an easy thing to hear.
Right.
But what we have to understand is that's a process, in the stage of development of the human being. So as the human being evolves and gets more understanding through experiences, they start to realize that that was a level in their development.
Right.
So it's like climbing stairs.
Right.
There are different levels of consciousness, of development, and awareness.
Yes.
Each of these levels are based on awareness.
Yes.
So the victim is not aware that they are actually creating their own reality.
Right.
They're not taught that. They don't have that consciousness to know that.
Right. And Joseph Campbell talks about the different archetypes. Remember?
Yes.
So, you begin to understand that there are these different archetypes that the child creates to protect itself from pain.
Right.
From feeling hurtful.
That's right.
And so, when you're on a hero's journey, you're the hero of your own adventure.
That's right.
You're the one who is going to have to face this this trauma that this child experienced, and you understand, like in the story of Wizard of Oz, for instance, Dorothy goes on this adventure, and she discovers things about herself.
Right.
And there are friends that she meets along the way who discover things about themselves.
Right.
And they all come down to the same conclusion. It was always in me.
Right.
It was never out there.
That's right.
It was always in me.
Yes.
And so I like the fact you brought up the victim story, because I feel that, when you're in the victim mentality, you're disempowered.
Yes.
You can't get in the driver's seat of your life because you're constantly blaming others.
You're projecting.
Exactly.
And you can't, as a victim, you don't take responsibility. So it's everybody else's issue. I'm like this because of this, that, and the other, and they did this to me, and they did that to me. And it doesn't mean that they're lying about that. Sure, people have done things to them. But they can't stay there. That's what they're not getting.
Right.
Life is about evolving.
Right.
So we can't stay there.
Yeah.
And when you stay there, you're stuck, basically.
Right.
And it does no good for anyone in that type of situation where they're stuck.
So how did you, in your process, how did you address the challenge of fear? like for the person who was abused as a child, and they get to a point in their life where they have to understand that they need to heal certain things.
Right.
And but there's a fear that creeps in, and they don't want to do the work. You know, that's a problem.
Right.
So
I just always seem to look at life in a certain way. Even though I knew I had issues,
right,
and I knew it was very difficult and very challenging, and I was in a lot of pain, I also was like a kid in the candy store in my life. And I just was inquisitive about everything concerning spirituality, metaphysics, and evolving and growing. And I always naturally had the sentiment that we should all be trying to be better, a better version of ourselves. And I seem to know intuitively that we weren't taught everything, that there were a lot of things hidden from us about who we are as individuals and people, you know, in the world. So I did know that much, you know, and it encouraged me, and I was inspired by it, and I was like intrigued by it. I just wanted to know, who is this other self? You know, what is that about? You know, aside from my parents, aside from my brothers and sisters and my friends and my family, there's this other self. Who is she? You know, and every now and then she would come out, and I would be like, wow, who's that? You know what I mean? I want to know more of this person. You know what I mean? So I was always intrigued. I was always curious. And I think that was my saving grace, and it had a lot to do with what I'm doing right now. Just love discussing these types of things. And as children, this is what we did growing up in my family. We always talked about these types of things. We were always seekers. We were always seekers, and we were just blessed for that reason. We were seekers. Yeah. Yes.
Beautiful. This level of self-mastery is amazing. That somebody can face their childhood trauma and come out victorious. And be self-empowering, understanding that they have to do the work on themselves, and they have to heal.
Well, you're hitting it on the nose right there. It's work. It's work. You know, you can't be comfortable with staying the same. You can't be comfortable with blaming others and just being stuck in those patterns. You have to do the work. And if you don't know what that work entails, you have to seek outside help. You have to become a reader. You have to read. You have to do research. You know, you have to want to be better. You know, you have to take 100% responsibility for your life.
And we're not psychologists, but you do have understanding that when you're talking about healing the inner child, you're talking about just listening to that child. That's as simple as it is. Just listen. That child has a voice.
That's right.
If you listen, and you have to show that child, that inner child, compassion.
Absolutely. And because then if you don't, it'll be suppressed.
Exactly.
And that turns into something negative.
The shadow.
That's right.
You know,
absolutely.
And the child acts out, or they have these behavior patterns and the archetypes that Joseph Campbell refers to. And at some point, you have to decide that healing yourself is going to involve facing these demons. You have to slay your dragons. So that you can liberate yourself. Liberate the child. So, it's very interesting that there are a lot of people who don't understand that it requires work. And healing is a process.
Definitely. It's not something that you ever finish.
It's not an event. It's not something that you can do in one day, 1 month, 1 year, or even a lifetime.
It's it is lifetime work.
Yeah.
Every day, 24/7.
Yeah.
Because everything's about awareness.
Yeah.
You know, once you're raised to a certain awareness, then life just gets easier.
Right.
You know? But we're all in a process.
That's right.
We're all in a process.
What are some of your processes that you do now? How long has it been since you've been divorced?
It's been 7 years.
Okay. So what processes that you have put in place that you do regularly that keeps you in that space of healing the inner child, or giving the inner child a platform,
right,
to be heard, and
right,
you know, yeah.
Well, you know, when I realized that, you know, I'm feeling a little bit off, I definitely started practicing meditation every single day.
Yes.
Every single day. The last 14 years now, consistently, every day without fail.
Okay.
I meditate minimum 15 minutes in the morning, and I try to meditate at night as well before I go to bed.
Okay. Can you share with us, like, what's the importance of meditation?
Good question.
What
Very good question.
do for you?
Meditation raises your vibration, which is, if I were to give a definition for vibration in this context, it would mean your sentiment, the way that you feel about yourself, the way that you feel at that moment.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that you're feeling good, because feeling good is important, because that's how you attract things to you.
Yes.
Just like we spoke of earlier about the inner child, the traumatized child.
Right.
This child is attracting circumstances and situations to them, so that as they grow up, it becomes patterns in their life.
Yes.
You know, of unresolved issues and things of that nature. Yes. So you want to meditate so that you can get centered in that space. Mm-hmm. That space, it's kind of equivalent to the space that I was creating for myself when I said I'm putting everybody on pause.
Right.
So it's something that you give to yourself as a demonstration of self-love.
Okay.
Where you give yourself a space so that you could hear the higher perspective come through you.
Yes.
So you have to get still enough so that you can hear.
Yes. Is that also the same space that the inner child has a platform to be heard? Do you think?
I believe that what happens with meditation, because your vibration is raised, you're healing all aspects of yourself incrementally.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that you're resolving everything.
Right.
But the more you do it as a practice and on a consistent basis, the more it shifts you and changes you, where you go from a lower perspective to a higher perspective.
Yes.
So it's just absolutely amazing what happens to you.
Wow.
You start to be privy to information that you would never be privy to.
It changes your life.
It really truly does. Yes. It's absolutely amazing. And there's so much more I could say on meditation, but that's going to be another show.
Yes, of course. I'm an avid meditation person myself.
Right.
And in addition to that, what else do you believe you put in practice on a regular basis?
On a regular basis, without fail, I have daily rituals. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm up, for the most part, during the week, about 4:45, between 4:45 and 5 a.m. in the morning, I'm up. Mm-hmm. I do exercise. Mm-hmm. I lift weights. Mm-hmm. When I'm able to, if it's not too dark out, I do jog. I jog as well. So I set the tone for that. That naturally raises your vibration, because you're getting rid of things that are stuck inside of you. That's why they call it a workout, because you're working out things that are in the body, because a lot of our trauma is stuck in the body.
Oh, what do you mean stuck in the body?
Stuck in the body, meaning that
trauma be stuck in your body?
The same with that inner child, and how they continuously attract these circumstances and these patterns in the future that mimic the healing that they need.
So are they stuck in the chakra system? Is that energy block?
Absolutely. Absolutely is.
I got it.
Absolutely is. This is where all disease comes from.
Right.
Trapped energy.
That's correct.
You know, how would you say, energy that's blocked and can't move, you know. So that's another thing that I do, as well as, aside from meditation and exercise, I also do reading. And while I'm getting dressed in the bathroom, I listen to podcasts. And anything that will elevate my mind, personal development, spiritual development, audiobooks, anything that's going to bring me to another level, consciously, so that I can grow and I can learn something that I don't know. You know.
And grounding, staying in nature.
Yes.
Grounding.
We spoke about that before, about, you know, how I love going to the beach and parks and all of that. But I also do affirmations. Affirmations are extremely powerful for breaking up resistance, you know.
Why is that?
Because the programs are what causes the resistance. So there are
programs. What are you referring to?
The programs we were talking about in our other show, when we were talking about the generational programming.
The beliefs.
Yeah, the belief systems, things of that nature.
And journaling. I see you do a lot of journaling.
Oh, man.
That part of your process for healing the inner child?
I never even knew. I didn't even have a clue. I've been writing since I was a kid. Anytime that I have these thoughts and feelings, naturally I would write. It would just come out of me. I wouldn't even think about it. Just 1, 2, 3. I would have pages and pages and pages and pages. And it was not until I became an adult that I realized that the journaling was a form of healing for me. You know, so journaling is a powerful, powerful tool.
So would you recommend journaling to someone who's embarking on learning how to heal the inner child? And if so, why? Absolutely, without a doubt.
Because through my journal writing, I realized that when I would go back to read my writings, I was like, wow, I was in shock. I learned so much about myself. I learned about who I was in the past. I learned about who I was in the present. And I learned about who I could become in the future from reading my own stuff.
Very interesting.
It raised my awareness, you know, of where I was blocked in the past. It showed me the patterns. It just, oh my goodness, powerful too. Gave me a lot of clarity.
Yes, and it gave the inner child a voice, right?
Absolutely. Because she was able to work out some of her issues and things that, you know, she had stuck in there, that needed a voice and needed a platform. You know, another wonderful book I can share with you guys. I don't remember the name of the author. It's in my library behind me, but I don't feel like digging for the sake of time. But it's called Active Imagination. What a powerful, powerful book. And this book is an exercise book where you actually give the stage to your archetypes. Because inside all of us, we have all these different archetypes with these different personalities. This one wants to do this, that one wants to do that, and you know, and when you have these issues and stuff, they show up and they become very comical. So what happened is he had us write out the script. And actually let these different voices speak. And so you would actively write out the script without trying to stop yourself. You would just let it flow. And I'm telling you, when I would read my stuff, I was like, whoa. You know, not only would you just do it with one archetype, you would do it with a couple of different characters. Whatever characters are trying to come through, you would let them speak and maybe say, give them names. So that when you give them names, you can identify who's speaking. And they would let you know, and they would just take the stage.
Wow, that would freak me out.
Take the stage, and it was like, it was comical, it was hilarious, it was like, oh shoot, who's this? You know? But we have all these different characters inside of us. That's what we don't know. And it's pretty interesting. You know? So that's another way of working out those different issues and things that we go through. as a tool for transformation.
Right. Right.
Yes.
That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I guess it's also learning self-love, right? Something simple is just checking in with yourself on a daily basis.
Right.
Like,
Right.
You know, paying attention to your emotions.
Right.
You know, are you okay today, Sherie? How are you feeling? You know, so
yes.
I think that paying attention to how you feel is a very important process.
Oh yeah.
Of self-care and making sure that the inner child is looked after,
right,
and happy,
yes,
and healed.
Absolutely. And the thing is that, like I shared earlier about the morning rituals that I do that because I understand that if you don't program yourself, the world will program you. So to make sure that what's going into my mind and what paves my day is what I would desire to see, I make sure I do that early before I speak to anyone.
Wonderful.
So that I set the tone of the day that I would like to have.
Yeah.
And I put the energy out there of what I would like to experience.
Wonderful.
Otherwise, I'm not deliberately creating. We actually have to deliberately create our lives if we want to live a successful and happy life.
Yes.
Otherwise, the world will give us what it wants to.
That's correct.
So
wonderful, wonderful.
So I hope that you got something from the show, and I hope that the extra tidbits that we added was helpful. And I'm just going to highlight the books again. Sure. The Hero's Journey. The Hero with a, no, not, well, it's talking about the Hero's Journey, but the name of the book is The Hero with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell. The other book is Active Imagination. You have to look up who the author is because I don't have it with me at the moment. Okay? And so those are two books that will shed some light on, you know, the things that we talked about today and give you more clarity. So
maybe the next time you come on, you can give us the author of the book Active Imagination.
Absolutely. 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 Definitely. So that's all I have for you. Oh my goodness, boy. Oh my goodness. Wow. Can you imagine, Michelle? Guess what time it is?
11. Confirmation.
Absolutely.
I love it.
What a wonderful, wonderful way to end on the 11/11.
Awesome.
And if you don't know what the 11/11 is, that means you have to listen to part 1, right? So that you could know what the 11/11 is, right? So definitely make sure you tune into part 1 because you don't want to miss understanding what that's all about.
Right.
So we're just going to end this out. We'll close this out with a little bit more music. And everybody, let me pause that for a moment there. I just want to say thank you, Michelle, for joining us today. Thank you for adding to the beauty of the show and just shedding some light on some topics and issues that we all are faced with and we all need more clarity about and understanding about. And this has been really, really rewarding.
Yes.
I enjoy doing this.
Yes, I have. And I learned a lot.
Yes, and I hope that all of you have learned some things as well. And I hope that you'll check out those books and, you know, spend your life just taking responsibility.
Choose yourself.
And choosing yourself.
That's right.
Thank you for
Please
joining
come
me.
back, everyone.
Absolutely. Until next time, take care, be well, and I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye, guys.
Yeah.